So I want to share. I think I may have mentioned this guy once or twice in my time doing videos on YouTube. His name is David Wilkerson. He's allegedly had made some prophecies about where our country's heading. Um, I don't know how accurate he's been, but from what I've read online previously, prior '90s and stuff, he's had some things he said that have happened, I guess. But it probably does bear some more research. But man, it just makes a lot of sense right now. What he said in 1994, I believe. Man, it kind of makes a lot of sense right now. So I want to read this to you. Now, this guy was a reverend, I believe. So this is, a sermon he gave, and, God spoke to me and that kind of thing. So he says, this was actually posted in 2007, but it was referencing this thing from the 90s, 94, I think. It says, in preparation, October 1993, there's come to hand a prophetic word through David Wilkerson, transcribed during a sermon. Most know of his ministry and his prophecies that have proven to be true. So we offer this to you exactly as it came to us, that you may prayerfully consider it. Again, I was a kid back in the 90s, okay? Like, early 90s, I was in high school. So, just barely in high school. Actually, I was more like 94, 95, 96. But again, it's a hell of a thing to say back then. So the numbers he gives you, billion this, billion that, think these are 1993 and 4 numbers. Imagine what they are today. Quote, it is just about to happen very soon, and I am speaking prophetically. If I've ever heard anything from God in my life, I heard it. About the notions. Poland owes $30 billion, and they haven't even paid the interest in 2 years. Saudi Arabia is behind on their payments on $8 billion, the richest country in the world as far as Arab states, and it is not paying its bills. Very soon, a European or North African or Eastern nation is going to default on its international loan, and when that happens, within 2 weeks, Mexico is going to default. Mexico owes $100 billion, 80% of it, to the American banks. And here's what is going to happen. About 2 weeks after the first country goes bankrupt, we are going to survive that because most of that money is owed to European banks, German, Swiss, and French banks. The second country is going to go down, probably Argentina or Brazil, and we will kind of live that out, and people will settle down and say, well, maybe that's not going to hurt. I want to stop for a second because I must interject. I got to start with that one sentence here. About 2 weeks after the first country goes bankrupt, we are going to survive that because most of that money is owed to European banks. Now, Lindsey Williams said, Europe's going to go down first. We'll see it. Pay attention to Europe. The euro's going to go. Watch over there because after that it comes here. That's what he was told by the elite. But he wasn't told by the elite in any of the 1990s years. This was only fairly recently, last few years, he learned this. So this guy is saying, first, it's going to be in the European zone. Then, but 2 weeks after the first country goes down, Mexico, so now it's on our side of the pond to start with, is going to default on $100 billion. And when the banks open the next day at 9 a.m. in the morning, $15 billion an hour is going to be withdrawn from our American banks. They are going to be running our banks. I think what he meant is a run on our banks. The Arabs, all the Latin American countries, they are going to be running our banks. Again, I think he meant putting a run on the banks. And before the day is over, the United States is going to have to declare a bank holiday. And we are going into 6 months of the worst hell America has ever seen. There is going to be chaos. Not even the National Guard is going to be able to quiet it down. We are going to have to call out the whole United States Army. Now, I've had visions recently, for I've been in New York City, and I was in Macy's in a vision, and I think he meant saw people walking around stunned because they couldn't get their money out of the bank. Now, I'm going to give you a word of advice. The first country that goes bankrupt, and I've documented this, and I've got it sealed in an envelope, And I'm going to call all my friends, and I'm telling you, this is the first time I've said it in a public meeting like this. But the first country that bellies up, you get every dime you have. Churches get your money out of the bank because you've got 2 weeks, because there's going to be a bank holiday, and you won't be able to get a dime for 6 months. Now, again, interestingly, Lindsey Williams said when Europe goes and it comes over here, you'll have but a few weeks to get your house in order, financially speaking, because it's going to come here. Now, of course, there is going to be order restored, but the nation will never be like it is again. There's going to be fear like we've never known. Judgment is out the door. Now, that's also something Lindsey Williams said. His elite friend told him, we would be taken down. We're heading towards third world status currently. We'll rebuild, we'll recover, but assuming we're here now with everything we have, the consumption we have across the world, again, I mentioned this numerous times, we use 25% of the world's power or energy output, essentially, resources, and we make up a fraction, little smidgen of the population. So as Lindsay said, the lifestyle you live now is going to come way down. Things will start to recover. It's going to be painful. They'll recover, but you are never going back up here. That lifestyle, you will never have that. It's going to be back down here. That's what he said. Now this guy, he continues on. When I was at Macy's, the department store, in a vision, and I watched people walking around and basically stunned. They didn't even know what to do. They didn't know what was happening. Then a bunch of young people walked into Macy's and suddenly went wild and began to steal. Within an hour, I saw their spirit, everybody in that store, and they were robbing and stealing. They basically, he used the word raped. They raped Macy's and destroyed all 5 floors of Macy's. It was raped and ruined in a period of an hour or two. And that is just the beginning, end quote. So, I can't vouch for the guy. I can't say I listened to him in the 1980s. I knew someone that went to his church and he nailed some things and got it right. But damn it, does that not sound very, very, very fitting to right now? Back in 1994 or 5, any of those years, as he said, it's about to happen soon, very soon. Very soon, like in 20 years, or very soon, like in the next 5 years, right? Because no one, no 5 years. But you had, 1995, 2005, 2015. We're in 20, 21 years. Again, when someone says very soon, and it's a vision they've seen, unless a date's given to them, they can only assume certain things. And I get that. I can give them that. But none of this made sense in the 90s. Okay? It makes sense now especially because in 2008, I remember watching C-SPAN, and you can find it on YouTube. I don't know the congressman's name, but they played it on C-SPAN. And he said, during this crisis, right before they decided to do the bailout, and partially reason why they did the bailout, and I don't remember the number he gave, but it was some kind of number like, oh God, what was it? $5 billion an hour or something was leaving our banking system. People were freaking out across the world. It may have been more than that. I'm just trying to go off my memory. And we had never seen nothing like that. Now, what this guy's describing, David Wilkerson, ain't no little piddly $5 billion an hour. Ultimately, it's going to turn into billions upon billions upon billions, hundreds of billions. And supposedly, they're not going to be able to deal with this. It's going to cause massive problems. Had that not happened in 2008, and by the way, nobody even knew it happened until that one congressman publicly said so on C-SPAN. Had he not even said that, I wouldn't be able to say it right now because we would not have known it. We would have just saw everything else, which is just equally as important, that happened then, not in a good way, but it's equally as important. But we wouldn't have known that. So now that I knew that, That's how much money. That's why they also said, oh, everybody calm down. We're raising the FDIC insurance to $250,000. And before that, remember they said any amount in the U.S. banking system is safe. And they let it last for a few years. Everything calmed down. Then they took that little law, threw it in the trash can, and said, okay, now we're back down to 250,000 insured. And supposedly, right, look around, okay, looks like it's stable now. But if this crap starts happening again, people are going to say, oh, not again, no way, and realize these people don't have control. They only thought they did. They only pretended they did. There's a real problem here, and I need to get my money out now as fast as possible. And that, I think, is what's going to cause what this man says he saw in a prophecy or a prophetic dream or whatever it was, vision. So just keep in the back of your mind, I would say, and pay attention, because I do feel like this year, next year, 2018, the club, New World Order, get ready for a new money system, 2018, all the stuff that's happening. Again, we have an election this year. Obama's going to step out. The new president, whoever he or she may be, is going to step in. And I mentioned my opinion before, but I think I may modify it just possibly a little bit. It's kind of the same, but just a little bit as a possibility. I said, like when Obama came in, Bush was stepping out, economy started failing, right? September 2008. Oh my God. Can't blame it on Bush. He's leaving. He's practically got his feet out the door. You cannot blame it on Obama. He's not done anything. He's just walking in. As a matter of fact, he ain't going to be here until November. Right? So they put it right in the middle. You can't blame either of these guys. So I felt like they're going to do the same thing this time. It's 2016. It's the election year. November is going to come around. We're going to have some kind of problem, right? At the end of the year. You can't blame anybody. You can't blame Obama. He had it for 8 years. He did a good job. He didn't do anything wrong. Can't blame it on Hillary. She didn't do anything wrong. She's not even in office yet. But here's where I'm going to change it slightly. As just another possibility. If Trump's definitely going to get the nod and the club knows it, and again, they can't rig it for some reason. Like, I don't know how they couldn't, but for some reason, Trump's going to get it. And maybe, just maybe, in their minds, they're saying, you know what, we're not going to rig it. Or we will rig it, and we're going to give it to Trump. Because we don't want to put this on Hillary's back. We need to destroy the financial system of the world and America. And we hate that son of a gun, Trump. So we'll let him take office before we let the markets crash. And then as soon as he steps into office, starts making any changes, bang! 2000. In other words, the crash happens in 2017 instead of 2016. And you all going to hate Trump because he was under his watch, man. And then the people, 4 years later, are not going to vote him in again because, oh my God, look what happened under his watch when really it wasn't his fault. And then the club then may take someone like Hillary or whoever else and say, hey, here's your new person. That's just an alternative opinion I have. But I think I'm more strongly believing that it will happen this year, just like it did in 2008, where one's walking out, the next president's walking in, whether it be Trump or Hillary. But again, I really think it'll be Hillary because they already got her on the front cover of The Economist magazine, and you know who owns that, the club, telling us there's your next president. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. Take care.